Revelations, chapter 5, verse 1. John Gill's exposition of the entire Bible, verse by verse. Brought to you by Discovering the Scriptures, being read by Dr. Peter John. Scripture quote, "And I saw on the right hand of him that sat on the throne," unquote. John Gill quote, "Of this throne and who it was that sat upon it, see my writings in Revelation chapter 4, verse 2. And who had in his right hand, or at, or upon his right hand, as the Syriac and Arabic versions render it, lying by or near his right hand, though according to Revelation chapter 5, verse 7, reading from the King James Bible, quote, "And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne," unquote. The book appears to have been in his right hand as our version and others render it, unquote. Scripture quote, "A book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals," unquote. John Gill quote, "This book was very much like Ezekiel's roll," in Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 9. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "And when I looked, and behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein," unquote, "which was written within and without, before and behind, and indeed it was in the form of a roll. A manner of writing in those times was on sheets of parchment, which, when finished, were rolled up in a form of a cylinder. Hence the book is called a volume. This book seems to have consisted of 7 rolls, in which was annexed 7 seals, and there being not room enough within, contrary to the common way of writing, some things were written upon the backside of the uttermost roll, and such writings were by the ancients called," it's spelled O-P-I-S-T-O-G-R-A-P-H-I, opistograph. The word is used by them sometimes for very prolific writings. By this book, some understand the scriptures of the Old Testament, which were written in rolls. See Hebrews chapter 10, verse 5. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body that thou hast prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast no pleasure." Verse 7, "Then said I, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book it is written of me, to do thy will, O God." End of Hebrews chapter 10, verses 5 through 7. "And which came out of the right hand of God, and were given forth by him, and being written within and on the backside, may denote the fullness of them, they containing a variety of matter, useful and profitable for different purposes, or else the literal and mystical or spiritual meaning of some parts of them, or as others think, the more clear explanation of the books of the Old Testament by those of the New Testament, and its being sealed may signify the authenticity of those writings, having the seal of God's truth and the impress of his wisdom, power, and goodness on them, and also the hidden sense and meaning of them, they being, especially in the prophetic and spiritual part of them, a sealed book to natural men, and of which Christ is the truest and best interpreter. But then this book was opened and looked into and read, and, in some measure, understood, even by the Old Testament saints, and had been before this time expounded by Christ concerning himself. Yea, he had opened the understandings of his disciples to understand those scriptures, and had counted them and others worthy to open and explain this book to others, and had sent them into all the world for this purpose, and for the same reasons it cannot be understood of the gospel published to Jews and Gentiles, the one within and the other without. Rather, therefore, the book of God's decrees is here meant, which respects all creatures and all occasions and events in the whole world, from the beginning of time to the end of time. And so Ezekiel's roll, according to the Targum, on Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 10. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there was written therein lamentations and mournings and woe," unquote. Which was written before and behind, signified that which was from the beginning, and which shall be in the end and hereafter. This book God holds in his right hand, as the rule and measure of all the dues and of the government of the world, and which he constantly fulfills and executes. And its being written within and without may denote the perfection and comprehensiveness of it reaching to all creatures and things, even the most minute, and its being sealed shows the certainty of its fulfillment, and the secrecy and hiddenness of it until accomplished, though it seems best of all to understand it of that part of God's decrees relating to the church and world, particularly the Roman Empire, which from henceforward to the end of time was to be fulfilled, and so is no other than the book of the Revelation itself, exhibited in the following scenes and visions, and this may be truly said to be in the right hand of God, and from thence taken by the Lamb, it being the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him. Revelations chapter 1, verse 1. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John," unquote. And may be said to be written both within and on the backside, to show that it contains a large account of things, a long train of events to be accomplished, as also to signify that it regards the church and the members of it, who are those that are within in the several ages of time and the world, or those that are without, for this book prophecy regards both the state of the Roman Empire and of the Christian church, and its being sealed shows the authenticity, certainty, and also the obscurity of what was contained therein, and with 7 seals, with respect to the 7 periods of time in which the prophecies in it are to be fulfilled. And Revelations chapter 5, verse 1,